When you don't tithe, you risk your life.
It's a lie.
When you are not a tither, any attack on you can take your life.
It's a lie.
These are indeed interesting times in Christendom, as those who are supposed to be fathers of the faith fight publicly over doctrines and other non-issues. It feels as if the underbelly of the church has been exposed, as new interpretations are given daily to things we consider essential to our faith. Many thought the drama would end with a tithing issue, but we now see church pulpits turned into wrestling arenas as some so-called pastors display all manner of theatrics, all in a bid to convince members of the efficacy of their miracles. Church auditoriums look like musical concert venues as lighting and instrumental effects are used to create the atmosphere for miracles. The miracles of Jesus were wrought without any musical or lighting aids whatsoever, and none induced by the ability of the recipient to give money. But the believer need not be afraid for the faith of the church, as what we see today has been on full display since the advent of Christianity. The quarrel between Abel Damina and David Ibiyomi and others is nothing new. The New Testament is full of the opposing views and public disagreements of the apostles. But when Peter was come to Antioch, I withstood him to the face, because he was to be blamed. For before that certain came from James, he did eat with the Gentiles. But when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision. We can see that circumcision and table fellowship are two issues that were at the very heart of the tension between Peter and Paul in Antioch, and evoked important questions for the early church. Not only did the early leaders and members struggle to envision a church that included both Jews and Gentiles, but they also struggled with the questions of the doctrinal and practical implications of Gentiles becoming part of the seed of Abraham. The command on the Mount of Olives and in Peter's vision to include Gentiles in the missionary work did not give specific instructions for how it was to be carried out. Paul's missionary work, which was to bear the name of Christ before the Gentiles, brought the issue to a head, and Antioch became the test case for the two competing gospels. Paul wrote to the Galatians in response to charges against him by Christian missionaries who had come to Galatia with a very different approach to the Gentile mission. Although he never specifically mentions their charges, we can get a pretty good sense of them because of the issues Paul chose to address in his response. The three overarching concerns in the epistle seem to center on the issues of Paul's authority and the gospel, how Gentiles become a part of the seed of Abraham, and how they then live within the covenant. The epistle of Jude, which is the penultimate book of the New Testament, is another epistle that goes straight to the heart of the divisions within the early church. It condemns in fierce terms certain people the author sees as a threat to the early Christian community. According to Jude, these opponents are within the Christian community but are not true Christians. He said they are scoffers, false teachers, malcontents given to their lusts, and so on. He went on to say these people will soon be judged. Do you know what the disagreement in ideology was that was at the crux of this matter? It was the disrespect of angels and their role in the life of the Christian. Can you guess who he was referring to? You will find the answer in Paul's epistle to the Colossians, where he condemned those who worshipped angels and gave them undue prominence. So we can see another fight in the New Testament between Jude, who introduced himself as the brother of James, who was the brother of Jesus, and Apostle Paul. I have taken my title, Clouds Without Rain, from something Jude said in verses 11 to 13. Woe to them! They have taken the way of Cain. They have rushed for prophet into Balaam's error. They have been destroyed in Korah's rebellion. These people are blemishes at your love feast, eating with you without the slightest qualm. Shepherds who feed only themselves. They are clouds without rain, blown along by the wind, autumn trees without fruit, and uprooted twice dead. They are wild waves of the sea, foaming up their shame, wandering stars for whom blackest darkness has been reserved forever. Don't you think this is a fitting description for some of the dramatis personae in the ongoing imbroglio within the Nigerian church? I particularly like the phrase clouds without rain. What exactly did Jude mean when he said his opponents are like cloud without rain? We can find the answer to this in Proverbs 25:14. Whosoever boasteth himself of a false gift is like clouds and wind without rain. Isn't this the shenanigans we see all over social media today? Fake and contrived miracles everywhere, hired testifiers parading the pulpits. This is why I Am Chosen is trending, as people now doubt every testimony and make fun of the church. Clouds and wind without rain is disappointment to the expectant believer. It's disappointment to the voter. It's heartbreak to the wife. It's the failure of government. It's the burden of the church. But I come to tell you today that despite all the conflicts, despite all the confusion, despite all the scams and fakery, despite the commercialization of the gospel, our God still lives. The gospel of Christ is still salvation to the lost soul. Over 2,000 years later, this same gospel still breaks yokes. The devil will always try, but God will always win. This is the God we serve. Men will mock you and your faith for a season, but your salvation is for eternity. I don't care about the linguistical inconsistencies in the Bible. I care that my salvation is real. I care that I'm in lockstep with my Savior. I care that when all else passes away, the assurance of eternity for the saved will endure till the end. Find Christ today and accept a salvation so freely given. God is still on his throne. This God has never disappointed me. In his cloud, there's always rain. Dear child of God, I hear the sound of abundance of rain. God bless you all.